Happy Labor Day weekend, Fan Duelers, and welcome back to Grade A Fantasy. Hope everybody's enjoying the holiday weekend. Hope everybody's back home safe and getting ready to start off a short work week. I'm back to give us some minor roster updates, but we still have more injury news to cover. And like I said in the videos before, there's going to be a lot of value opening up, and let's start right with it. With the main injury news, probably one of the top 2-3 popular people or wide receivers in fantasy, or probably top 5 players in fantasy for the past 3 years, our boy Cooper Kupp. It is being said that Cooper Kupp has to go see a specialist for that hamstring injury after a few days ago suffering a setback. So Cooper Kupp's status is definitely still up in the air. They have not ruled him out. But when it comes to their main top guy and one of the top players in the league, I really don't think this is another wide receiver injury along with the Jerry Jeudy, where I do not think, not being 100%, these guys should be held out or might be held out for at least the first couple of weeks of the season. The last update was after noting that he has to see a specialist for the hamstring injury, that it will be more viable to see Cooper Kupp take the field by week 2. And then, of course, it also determines on, what the specialist says about the injury after Cooper Kupp goes to see this injury specialist for the hamstring. So, in Kupp's absence, his exact words were, it will force the growth and the development of the rest of the Rams receivers, mainly Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell. So, if that's the case, then we are highly looking at we are definitely looking at a situation, we're definitely looking at a situation where more value opens up for the Rams, and this is what you'll be looking at. And on top of that, like I said, he being the main guy, you're looking at least 3 wide receivers. So you're possibly looking at Van Johnson, Demarcus Robinson. Skronek's been on the team for a little bit, but then also Tutu Atwell. Tutu's a very speedy, deep, and for a small guy, he's a bit of a deep threat, but they'll most likely use him as the underneath guy, while they'll have Vance Jefferson taking the deep targets. And then also that definitely, without a doubt, opens up more space. In my opinion, without a doubt, it should open up more space for Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee definitely a part of the offense, a big part of the offense for the Rams, and he does get the goal line looks, and he does get looks as they drive down the field. So these are guys, once again, a $5,300 running back with low 5s in the wide receiver stats, in the wide receiver pricing, where you can find possible value, even more value than it has already been noted. For me personally, for this particular game, if I'm really going off based off what I really think what this game is going to be, because I do think Seattle still wins this game, I really think that leaves a lot of room for Cam Akers. Now, if the game gets out of hand, Cam Akers is not going to be in that game towards the fourth quarter. I kind of see this game going like a 27-13. I mean, with no Kupp, I might change that. With Kupp, I was probably looking at a 27-17 kind of game, maybe even 27-20. But if you look at the games that he had, like I said, that's another thing. The Seattle defense, and no Jamal Adams, the Seattle defense slightly improved, but you could kind of look at them as a fantasy carnival, just like how some people look at the Minnesota defense as a fantasy carnival years ago, like the Dallas Cowboys. And as you can see right there, had solid games at Seattle, dropping 14.3, and then a few weeks before that, 18.5. So at 6,600, you're hoping for him to have a similar game like that. You're just hoping for the main thing, that game stays close enough where he could get 21 rush attempts. He gets a few targets here and there, but that's not really what he's there for. He's mainly a volume, get the carries kind of guy. Like if he gets 25 touches in a game, more than likely Cam Akers received 21 or 22 carries out of those 25 touches. But I really think this really improves Cam Akers' outlook. Like I said, he's not at a budget price, so it's not like, oh yeah, I could get him for ×2. Because as you can see from my videos, the last couple of videos before, the upside for some 57, 58, and even 6,000 running backs the upside is very high. So you're definitely going to need Cam Akers to at least get a decent amount of work. And as long as the game stays close, game script most importantly, as we DFSs refer to, you'll be looking for him and that game to at least be I think the Rams will be down. So if it's the end of the third quarter and they're down 10, maybe 13, Cam Akers could still be in the game. If there's anything more than a 13-point deficit, then yeah, Cam Akers probably loses most or probably the entire fourth quarter. And, maybe he's not such a good play. But like I said, 6,600, a lot of DFSers on the web are talking about using to pay down for running backs because they want to get the big stacks with the big boys, a la Justin Jefferson, a la Tyreek Hill. So a lot of things going for the Rams. Like I said, if there's two teams that are expected to be dumpster fires and you might just want to stay away from, it is Arizona and LA. But they still got guys. They still got to play the game, and there are still fantasy points to be had. So like I said, you can go to Tutu Atwell and Van Jefferson. But my main two guys I'd like in this situation would be definitely without a doubt, I like Cam Akers and I like Tyler Higbee. Going back, don't mean to repeat a beaten drum, but my boy is now, if you haven't seen the news, he's almost confirmed to be the number one running back. My man, Dion Jackson. I said that it didn't really seem like it would make sense for Dion Jackson to actually be, it didn't make sense for Zach Moss to actually be ready for week 1. Now the reports are week 2, week 3 for Zach Moss. Like I said, he hasn't done much with that arm/wrist injury. So now Dion Jackson, obviously he's the one with the most experience and he's been there the longest. He is slated to be the number one back at least for week 1. We'll have to probably put the Q tag on Zach Moss and see how he progresses and if he's ready for week 2 or not. But with Zach Moss definitely out, there are talks that the draft pick that they got, Evan Hall, exceptional receiving back, should see some work. So it's looking like Dion Jackson is looking like a 60 to 65% guy, while Evan Hall will get his reps. I think Evan Hall is also a good upside play because if Indy's getting their ass beat, then Evan Hall is most likely going to finish that game and probably catch a lot of screens or triangle passes out into the flat or into the middle of the field on top of blitz and zone pressure from the Jaguar linebackers. Evan Hall has a great receiving skill and he has great upside for week 1 with Zach Moss not playing. Once Zach Moss is back, Evan Hall is definitely somebody that goes down the field. But hey, he could be a tournament play. He could get a garbage time touchdown. So Evan Hall is definitely somebody that you definitely would like to take a look at. But once again, as I kind of proposed and I really thought was going to happen weeks ago, Dion Jackson seems to be the man. It's just not fully confirmed, but is pretty much almost 99.9% confirmed that Dion Jackson will be the man for week 1 against the Jaguars. And if that's the case, once again, I'll go over it. Those early games where Jonathan Taylor was hurt, you can see right here, he's looking at one of these kind of games right here where he's looking at 12 for 42, 13 catches, 10 targets. He's looking at one of those kind of games. So we're really looking at some high upside and a lot of cheap value for the Colts and other positions for many teams. As we keep going, with other minor news besides the big Cooper Kupp. Well, if there's one thing that probably sucks about the Cooper Kupp injury is this: once Cooper Kupp is out, somebody that's up top now, he probably wasn't going to get as much. He probably wasn't going to get as much ownership because the two popular guys are Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. But when you take away the people that was going to go to Kupp, that's just going to add more to Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and Jamar Chase. So that's where, you might want to eat the chalk, but where else can you go? I honestly feel Keenan Allen is going to go underowned because a lot of people who are, doing draft stacks, like I said, there's 150 possibilities, but a lot of people who are doing comebacks of that most popular game, they're trying to get Tyreek Hill, and then they fit Mike Williams at 7,100, which seems to be the obvious. Or you get a little different and then go Gerald Everett, because he's a cheap tight end. But I really think that you should do your best to try and get to an $8,000 Keenan Allen. Yes, the point per receptions aren't the best on FanDuel because it's only point 0.5. It's not DraftKings. But if you look at last year's game, you're probably going to want him to at least get into the end zone. 14 targets last year, 12 for 92. If he gets the touchdown, then hell yeah, that's a great day. 15.2 is kind of, you're like, okay, he could have done better. And yeah, for 8,000, you're going to say, like, hey, most likely somebody like Cortland Sutton will probably have a better day. Obviously, with a limited wide receiver core. Because with Keenan Allen, he has to go against deep threat Mike Williams. He has to deal with Gerald Everett. And then most importantly, one of my top plays, and I think he is the top play of I think he's definitely one of the top plays going, one of the most popular plays everybody's talking about in this year, but especially for this week, is Austin Eckler. And you might want to run the comeback that way. Like, I'm already doing stacks of other games, but I'm making sure I at least have a comeback somehow with my beginning lineups of Austin Eckler and Tyreek Hill. And maybe even if I want 3 pieces, that's when I'm looking at Gerald Everett in a case that way. His game last year against Miami, solid effort, 15 carries, 45 yards and a touchdown. But as usual, Austin Eckler makes up for it in the receiving game. 8 targets, 8 catches, 59 yards, and 20.4 points. Wasn't the best day on the ground, as you can see. But once again, even though it's 0.5, the receiver makes it up almost 60 yards, which saves the day at 20.4, which is good for a 9,000 tag price. That's about what, a 2.2 or 2.3x his salary. A lot of people are going to try and get to that game, but if you ask me, a lot of people are stacking that game in a way where Mike Williams is the guy that they want. So if you want to counteract that, I really feel that getting to Keenan Allen is definitely the way to go. When it comes to the QB news, we already know the theme here. The three running quarterbacks are the top guys here, and then some people are going to get to Justin Herbert. A lot of people are excited about that Cincinnati-Cleveland game. Joe Burrow is trending to play, even though he had that injury. You got Tua, but hey, a lot of people may not like him, but if you're gonna go Kirk Cousins, you at least, you could one off Justin Jefferson if you want, but Kirk Cousins against Tampa Bay is not a bad choice. A lot of people may not like Kirk Cousins, but let me tell you something. If you stack him, that could be a way to get contrarian, because a lot of people are going to go Justin Jefferson as a one-off, which you can. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the man, you may not like him winning-wise, but stat-wise, he will put it up. And look, as you see there, he had a lot of high 200 and a couple 400-yard games last year. He's at home, and people forget that also. That's another team that's on the way down. Tampa Bay is, even when they were a good defense, the way you beat Tampa Bay, if they couldn't get to pressure the quarterback, they were a pass funnel. Even in that Super Bowl year. It came more evident after the Super Bowl year, but they are a pass funnel defense. So if you're looking for, it's probably not super contrarian. It's probably not going to be as low as picking Howell or Richardson or anything like that. But like I said, you should definitely try to build some lineups without a doubt. Instead of doing Justin Jefferson one-off, which is great, because Justin Jefferson by himself will get you 30 points. But guess what your lineup looks like even more? If Justin Jefferson went for 22.7, 30.6, and he has that kind of upside, then what's the day that Kirk Cousins has? And, you're definitely getting a little bit more different from besides the field. More than my popular picks of Justin Fields, and, of course, what I'm also liking up top in Jalen Hurts and my favorite QB for the week, Lamar Jackson, who I think should be in cash games. Other people say there should be other cash people like Deshaun Watson, maybe even Geno Smith. When it comes to the mid-value, I actually like Geno Smith once you get to the 7,000s. Deshaun Watson, you're just hoping that, he knocks off the rust. If Deshaun Watson is even part Deshaun Watson, then that game, him being at home, him having a lot to prove, redemption year for him, I think Deshaun literally that's what to me Deshaun Watson was on. He was pretty much on a long preseason. Like, he was out of the league for about a year and some change, a year and a half pretty much, and then I think he got about 7 games of action in last year. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. So, did pretty decent against the Steelers at the end. 230 yards, 2 TDs, had 2 interceptions, but he still put up some decent numbers or whatever. And for his price at $7,400, him going for either one of those 2 scores, that's almost times 3 his salary. So a lot of things that could go around there. But like I said, with a lot of more news, Cooper Kupp injury, like I said, I don't think Cooper's going to play. I don't think Jerry Judy's going to play. I have a lot of options, a lot of cheap options that I went over in the last few videos that I feel, like I said, this is going to be an unpredictable week. Like I said, even though you don't want to use totally last year's stats, there is a high possibility that you might have to build something ugly just for it to make sense, just for week one, because then you can really base week one on what you feel that you want to have the ability to go off and build future lineups going into week two, week three, so on and so forth. So other than that, I just wanted to give the quick injury update. I will do a final re-preview of week one. Like I said, I did a very early one back in early August when the FanDuel pricing did drop. I just wanted to drop this quick video with the pricing and everything that was going on. As you can see, that FanDuel contest is about a quarter full or whatever, but I'm pretty sure it should fill by the end of the day. But I hope you guys enjoyed the vid and the news update. Like I said, more value coming up seems like every few days something happens to a key player, so value continues to open up. Other than that, I think my next vid will be a little review or a little preview of the single game. It will be a preview of the single game, and for the Thursday night season opener between Detroit at the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm really looking forward to that game. I really want to watch that game, but hey, just for the hell of it, I will be playing that game. It's going to be fun. I will do a preview of that either earlier in the day of Thursday or the night before Wednesday night. So I hope you all enjoyed the news. This is your boy, Grade A Fantasy, signing off.